My
2024, are you ready?
you need a mic today.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Our multi-million-dollar setup is not working, so. Welcome to the March 14, 2024 Public Works Standing Committee meeting. Roll call, please. Is that Taryn? Mr. Elder?
Mark? Keith? Here. Manning? Got Cosgrove? Mark Tui? Here. Julie Fleming? Here. Steve Williamson?
Here. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Proof of notification, Mr. Elder.
Was properly notified, Mr. Chair.
Agenda approval, 14 point is what mine shows. Is that still correct? Yes, looks like yours as well. Looking for agenda approval, 14-point agenda. Mr. Cooley, seconded by Cosgrove. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, agenda is approved. Minutes from last meeting, which was held on February 8th, is what I have in the folder. I glanced through them. I didn't see anything. If anybody else have any corrections or additions, changes? If not, I will declare the minutes approved as presented. Moving into public comment. Anybody in the room or online for public comment? Do we have anybody online? Oh, okay. No public comment. Administration report, property management report.
Just a couple things. I've got the coils for the heating unit and cooling unit upstairs, the air handler supposedly have been ordered. Hopefully 4 to 6 weeks we'll get those. So we can get started getting those in probably end of April. Doing a lot of painting in the building. Projects going on. Victim witness room is all done. We're going to be doing the courtroom lobby. Going to the top of the stairs. We're going to do that lobby starting next week. Across the road at Health and Human Services, same thing. They're moving offices over there, so we're cleaning and shampooing and painting and doing whatever needs to be done over there. Otherwise, normal stuff here at the courthouse. Any questions?
Anybody with questions for Mr. Nelson in regards to here or across the street? All right, seeing none, let's go to more administration, discussion, possible action on roof replacement on emergency services building. Amber. And those of you, that's everybody in here know Amber? Amber Birch? She is the interim director of EMS, I'll call it.
So in the interim,
Is your mic on? Oh, it's up here. It's Can you
hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Darren Gudgeon left back in November. His position was overseeing 2 departments, emergency management and ambulance. So I'm the interim for the ambulance specifically. John Heinen is doing emergency management piece. So we've got before you today the roof replacement for the emergency services building. So we purchased that building a couple of years ago. It used to be the REC building for those who aren't familiar. And when we walked through the purchasing of that building, we recognized that as part of the appraisal, the roof for it was 20 years old at the time. It had, so as of today, it has 5 years left on the warranty for that roof. However, we have noted when we were going through the process of purchasing the building, there were a couple of spots that were going to need repair soon kind of thing. And so, so the Joint Ambulance Committee had planned to do the minor repairs to those spots soon after purchase, and then do the roof replacement. And according to the business plan we had laid out in 2026, we were going to do the roof replacement for the all of the existing roof. We estimated in the business plan that it was going to cost $95,000 in 2026 to be able to do that replacement. So when we went to get quotes to do the repairs for the minor spots that needed some stuff, we recognized that, or the person that we had been working with for those quotes had not realized we were referring to just doing the repairs that had been talked about a little while before, and had given us a quote for the entire roof replacement. And his quote came in for $75,000 for this year, which is $20,000 cheaper than what we anticipate it will be in 2 years. And that prompted the Joint Ambulance Committee to consider the replacement of that roof this year, since the cost is cheaper than anticipated. We all know how the world has been. We can anticipate those costs are going to increase. So it's kind of one of those strike while the iron's hot. So we're gonna do the very minor patchwork and stuff in-house for the springtime, so that we don't have too much for water issues in the building at this moment. And then work through the process of getting roof replacement in this summer. So that's what we've got before you today. It is also helpful to know that REC had, because it was identified as an issue when we were purchasing the building, REC did also donate $10,000 to the roof repair project. So we have not spent those funds yet. So we would be able to put that $10,000 toward the purchase or the cost of the roof replacement. And the rest of the roof replacement costs would come out of the ambulance's segregated fund out of Fund 51. And that has been a fund that dollars have been being put into to be able to utilize for services like this, because it's anticipated with a building like that you're going to have to do repairs. So Julie, did you have anything to add, because you're on Joint Ambulance Committee?
Just was looking to see if we had any kind of documentation going on forward, something, see, should there be something in there?
I don't know that we actually submitted anything to this committee for the binder, but I can certainly email it to everybody if they want.
My only question would be, I mean, it sounds like you have time. I would get at least one more quote.
Yes, absolutely. So, so we hadn't been seeking out bids
Right.
for that level of a thing. So what we're really before this committee for is to begin the process of putting out a request for bids specifically for the roof project.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
who's our normal, we got a guy that does all our roof stuff, right? That looks at them and,
Yeah, that guy the engineer we worked with on this. Yep, and then he helped actually work with us on getting the bids and.
yeah, and I don't know who you guys are using,
Yeah, I printed out the thing and left it on the copier.
and that's fine, but that, I mean, just because he saved us or got us a lot more money when we went, you know, especially on them hail
Hail
damage, you know, it was $1 million more, so I can't remember who it is that we use that engine. But that's a good resource, you know, and I don't know what it costs, but it's a good resource because he's in that network, you know what I mean, to help you get the best price and the best quality and everything. So we probably should look into that and see who that was.
Go ahead, Mr. Carroll.
In there, or is that? Second thing is this just a regular straightforward shingle roof, or is there more to it?
So my understanding, the warranty did not apply to the areas that they were wanting to have addressed when we did the purchase of the building. I can't really speak, unfortunately, beyond that point. But the roof is a synthetic rubber roof.
Flat with drains probably, isn't it, Randy, like
Yep.
some of ours up here?
Yep.
So,
And
again-
that's,
Again, to Mr. Cooey's comment that the engineer company or whatever was the name of it, that they actually, didn't they work also on this roof?
Across the street.
Yeah, so anyway, you have time. But, yeah, I was gonna ask a question about warranty, but most of us know if you've been around roofs, how well them warranties last, so. But, any other questions, Mr. Cosgrove? I see you're grabbing the mic. Russ.
Yep.
But any other questions? I have no problems with it. I don't know if we need anything official, formal out of this group to pursue starting the process of quoting. My other question would be to Mr. Elder, the group, can't remember the name of it, but we use it for trucks. We use it's, state certified bidders
Yeah,
would be another avenue possibly.
yeah, I also recommend going with, Candace through that Demand Star. That's another one where you can post your RFP online. And then the other one would be Sourcewell out of Minnesota.
okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Carroll. Sorry, Amber.
I was also just wondering if roof off and doing that work, if there's anything else that might make sense to check on or and even do other work if it makes sense.
At this time, I'm not aware of any other issues that would need to be addressed on that front. Certainly something to consider, but I'm not aware of anything that would come up. One of the things that the Joint Ambulance Committee did consider was not only requesting bids for the replacement of what currently is, but also looking at adding trusses. Yeah, because the cost of materials for that may be comparable, and it's been found that, you know, some of those can be almost cheaper in the end. So that was another thing that the Joint Ambulance Committee was discussing in the meeting.
That was gonna be one of my suggestions, and again, if we get the engineering company or whatever involved, they can look at some of the stuff that Steve was asking about, if there's more there, but then you might as well have somebody price putting rafters on there and get away from that flat roof, because they're you in the school districts, everybody knows that flat roofs is a never ending deal,
Yeah.
so.
Yep, because you will always have drainage issues just because we live in Wisconsin, and so things pool with the snow and the ice and the leaves.
Good, very informative. Thank you, Amber. Any other questions for Amber on the ambulance building?
So I think my understanding was they were wanting action from this committee to be able to take it to the finance personnel, that next rung on the ladder.
Sure, we'll just make sure, we'll do it. If somebody wants to make a motion to that effect, so we can move it on to personnel and finance. Motion by Mr. Cosgrove, seconded by Mr. Manning. Any further discussion on the ambulance roof? The motion will read, we will move it forward. They can move it forward to personnel and finance to seek out bids for roof replacement instead of repair. Good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, sounds good. The other one looks like mine. I did make a phone call. Gunderson Eye Clinic parking lot. Made a call to our Richland Center's development guy, Jason, yesterday, and I was just trying to see if he knew anything much about it. He said there's some movement, but not much. As far as I said, we might be interested in trying to figure out if we could short-term rent the parking space over there, because I got here at half hour ago, and every lot was full here in ours. It's difficult to get vehicles in there, but I don't know if we'll ever get anywhere with it, but that's what I found out, so stay tuned. We might, they got people looking at it as far as business views. That's the one right across the street, so. Yeah. Anybody with questions on that? No. Okay. Yeah, Mr. McGuire. People are interested in looking at it. Yeah. He wasn't even for sure who owned it. Used to be a couple different people in town. I think couple may even be from out of town, but he wasn't 100% sure who even owned it, to try and contact if they would be interested in leasing or renting space.
Dropped the ball when we did.
Yeah, I've made that comment a few times, so. But we didn't have the money. No. All right, let's move on to number 9, Highway Administrative Report.
Okay, right now I'd like to make everybody fully aware that we have moved to our 10-hour workdays. We usually generally follow the daylight savings schedule. So now we're Monday through Thursday, and the highway shop is closed on Fridays unless we're needed for emergency stuff, as trees and road, whatever else. Brushing is the big name of the game right now. We're using this weather to go around and remove all the hazardous trees, anything that people have that's within the right of way that's a threat to the road. We've also been heavily on the bike trail, working on that, clearing back all the trees and brush and hauling a lot of that stuff out of there. It's been so dry, however, we can't burn anything that we are piling up. So some of those brush piles may have to wait till next winter when we have enough moisture on the ground to burn them. And then up in our quarry, that's borders with householders on County Road End, we have one heck of a pile up there. So the first chance we get, we'll be lighting a pretty good bonfire. Radio tower. So it was brought to our attention that a couple access roads were going to be needed at the Westport location and then also the Viola location.
We felt as though the county forces in-house could do it cheaper than contracting it out. So the county superintendent, myself, along with the sheriff, went out and looked at those sites. We believe we can do it. Right now is a good year to do it because our interior road construction is kind of at the bare minimum with the oncoming County Road O project. So we are going to be shifting gears to go tackle those projects. Within next week, we hope to have estimates put together, and then we'll work with the radio tower people to get that online, but we will be doing those road projects for that. Other than that, it's basically starting to get through the equipment, starting to look at tearing it down from winter readiness, and then we'll be moving into all the normal summertime tasks. Sure.
Anybody with questions on what the highway department personnel have been up to?
We have a large amount of sand yet. We just about have enough to do another year's worth, but we will have to, build up a little bit this oncoming fall time. But right now, the shed is still pretty much 100% full. We're right at yeah. One more thing to mention on the bike trail. I put it out on the radio as well. We have it closed because during the hours of operation, we have several large pieces of equipment and trucks down there knocking trees down and piling stuff up. So we put barricades, we've added additional warning signs. People still haven't got that message that the bike trail is closed till further notice. It's a timely process for that. So you still have people trying to walk their dogs, ride their bikes, and catches the operators off guard sometimes when they go to swing and somebody decides to go walking right past the machine. So whoever you see, just remind them the bike trail is closed from usually about 7 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon. After that, they want to take a walk, go for it. But as soon as we can open it back up, we will, but we'll be down there till further notice until we get things kind of wrapped up. We'll also be adding additional, there is funding to add additional screenings, and we're going to try to improve a little bit of that road surface while we're in there. If there's a culvert or something we come across, we'll try to get to it, but the budget is very specific about what we can do down there. So we're going to improve it quite a bit for this year. Here.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, I heard it on the radio actually this morning, and I've seen the signs. Any other questions, Mr. McGuire?
This is saying when the bridge is completed at Bull Rock, whose responsibility is it to follow Highway 130, which goes down to Main Street and Bull Rock all the way to Iowa County to the other side of the bridge? Is that Richland County's responsibility?
It is Richland County's responsibility, except for within the village limits of Lone Rock that may change over to patrolman, but 130 going all the way across the bridge to the other side in the next county, that's our responsibility to plow.
If no further questions, we'll go into the monthly bills.
This month, the grand total comes to 428, 138 and 40 cents. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, this is the kind of, again, I've said it before, but this is the kind of monthly bills that we have. The big ticket items on there that I would see there'd be questions about would be the Homesteader store for equipment to $13,816. That was for that Parks and Trails truck, the V-plow on the front of it, and then the sander on the back. Again, that's nothing we asked for extra. We're doing that out of our own budgeted costs for the year. The other big one is Decker Supply, the sign and message boards. We had budgeted for that in the CIP, so that was an expenditure expected. Now those message boards, for those you don't know, those are those big digital boards you put alongside the highway that actually flash a message digitally for people to see, and it catches a lot more attention. We have a high demand for those type of signs in this county, and then with other different operations and events, we've been requested to have them in the past, and we haven't had them, so now we do. And those are a revenue source for us as well. Other than that, everything else is pretty well cut and dry. Short Elliott Hendrickson, again, pavement design, that's still County Road O, that's still a lingering charge we'll be seeing for some time. And then we're also doing some engineering on County Road N and A for in the future. Sure.
Motion by Manning, second by Cosgrove. Now it's up. Anybody have questions? We have it on the floor for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving and paying the bills as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, so that part is taken care of. Moving on to number 10, discussion and possible act following items. Letter A, updated body builds.
Barb, could you please put that on big screen? So these two body builds were accepted and awarded to Universal Truck Equipment. These were for the two trucks that we had originally bid clear back at the end of 21 and going into 2022. So at the time we accepted them, there was going to be surcharges to increase the price because of the long-term wait for these trucks. Now the trucks are expected to be here in May. I had Universal refresh their body builds to show. So everything you see on here is all the line items we go through and update and redo because from year to year, equipment becomes obsolete. They stop making it. There's new stuff. So we have to clean it up every single time. So the grand total, if you scroll down to the bottom, Barb, could be somewhere in there. Right there, up a little bit.
Sorry.
No, you're good. $189,830 each. We have budgeted for this. Again, we're just looking to accept the updated bids for these two trucks with the grand total being $379,660. Keep in mind, we still have two other trucks. I have the RFPs currently sent out to the bodybuilders to get new ones, and those went out to Casper Truck Center, Monroe, and then also Universal. Casper Truck Center has already bowed out of that because they use Universal equipment. They didn't want to create a bad friendship, if you will. So two more trucks are still out for bid. We'll be looking at those next month, but this is to refresh the two body builds that we had already accepted with the new updated pricing to have happen, Mr. Chair.
What was the, Josh, and I'm sure everybody would ask the same question, the difference between 2021 bid and 2024 bid?
Last year, or in that year, they came back at about $169,000. So it was almost a $20,000 increase. But that's typical. That's what we're seeing these days. This is nothing out of the ordinary.
Mr. Karen?
How did that work? The original approval of the budget, did it just get rolled over or?
Yes, we just compensated for the next year, understanding that we're going to be having those payments coming. So we budget for that.
So that fund just kind of sat there until.
Correct.
So this one, do you need any action from us? You do want a motion?
Motion to approve and accept.
Okay. Mr. Cooey, Ms. Fleming, all those in favor of accepting the updated body builds with a grand total of $379,660, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, go on to the letter B, bid for the trees, firewood at the campus.
So all the firewood is at the campus. It has been divided into 3 lots. There's 2 pretty good sized lots and a smaller lot. So what I did was I drafted up an advertisement for bid that has not hit the papers yet. It's coming here first. It has been reviewed by Corp Counsel as well. So I can read it its entirety. And then what we'll need from the committee today is basically a base price for each lot of wood to start at. So we don't end up losing money on the deal. Basically, it's worth something, but we don't want to have people win it for $1. So Richland County Highway Department will be accepting sealed bids on behalf of Richland County from the public who has interest in obtaining harvested trees previously standing on the Richland Center campus. The logs, limbs, and branches can be viewed at the Richland County Fairgrounds located at the address. Piles of wood will be separated into 3 lots for bid. The bidder will have the right to bid on all 3 lots, but by individual bid per lot. Bidders should also include their own plan to remove the wood. No cutting of firewood will be conducted on Richland County-owned property. If you are awarded the bid, complete removal of the wood in its entirety will be expected. The awarded bidder will have to arrange to load and remove the wood. If you need assistance loading the wood, arrangements can be made with the Highway Department with the understanding that Richland County Highway Department retains no liability when loading. Rejection of bids, Richland County Highway Department on behalf of Richland County reserves the right to reject any and all bids as authorized by law and award the bid to other than the highest bidder at its discretion, if the best interest of the county is thereby served. So 3 lots of wood. The big thing is we didn't want people cutting on the property. You know, they'll cut, they'll leave a mess. There's a chance for liability back onto the county. So we just want it removed 100% in its entirety. There is plenty of people out there that will do that. The next part is establishing a price for wood. So this is where I leave it in your guys' hands to decide what you want per lot. The lots, as where I configure it, it's not really by board foot, it's firewood. So if you were going to load it up, each one you'd have about a dump truck and a half load of wood, except for the 3rd lot, and that would be about a dump truck load. My recommendation would probably be somewhere like around $500 to $600 as the starting price, and then if you guys feel it's worth more, you can add more to it. Keep in mind, a large part of that is ash, and there would be a little bit of maple, I believe. There, I don't think there's any oak mixed in with that.
Did you do anything about, I remember the fire,
No, no, some of that, I mean, they're smaller branch size pieces, some of it's a little bit larger trunk pieces. It's just basically firewood.
Mr. Carroll?
So we don't lose on the deal, do you know what got in it, if we could increase it that much?
We've got a couple thousand into it right now. For the whole thing.
Mr. Manning, you've hauled firewood in your dump truck. I mean, you got a rough estimate of boards that you can haul? Well, he said it's like each pile's a dump, you're talking a 17 yard.
Yeah, each lot, 3 lots. The first 2 lots are fairly large. I would say there's, if you're talking about like a triaxle load, you'd have about a dump truck and a half. And that's if the tailgate's off. And the last pile, I think you could easily fit that probably into a triaxle. Might be a little full, but you could fit it in. We just kind of dump them in.
somebody else gives themselves, that always gets paid.
If the grass gets tore up during that, we'll be there to supervise and try to keep that to a bare minimum, but we would just come in and fix up the grounds. Yeah, they will not be allowed to be in there unless they're being supervised by myself or one of the management staff.
I don't know, in my opinion, 500 would be a good starting point. You know, on at least
That's what I would think.
minimum, yeah.
Yeah, you just want to establish a minimum price that you will not drop below.
Yep.
And then whatever you get from there is all good to go.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah, some pretty good parking.
The last pile being a smaller pile, I would say, you know, instead of 500, maybe go 350, but that's just my recommendation. I'll leave that in your hands to decide.
no, I mean, I would go with your recommendation. I would think that the 500 would, there's gonna be people bid on it, and one of Gary's neighbors may buy it all. You don't know. One person could buy it all.
Yeah.
So, any questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion from somebody to, we could set the limit for the two larger piles at 500 and smaller of the 3 piles at 350. That, Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Further discussion, anyone? If not, all those of approving the setting the minimum bid for the 2 larger piles at 500 and the smaller of the 3 piles at $350 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, we got that taken care of for you. Letter C.
Okay, there's nothing in the packet information for this, but basically the first one on there is WisConnect. WisConnect is a company that reached out to me, and they have like little tiny weather stations they utilize all across the state of Wisconsin, and they're looking for a location in Richland County to put one. They need a 15-foot by 15-foot area. They identified as the highway department is a good place to put it. That little mini weather station, what they tell me, monitors like moisture in the ground, it monitors frost, and then obviously like probably anything else to do with weather, basically. It doesn't cost us anything, but it's there for us to use, and we just have to give them a 15-foot by 15-foot area to put it. I don't see any problem with that. Where they wanted to put it at the highway department is clear out on the other side of our property near the fence. It's something that we would probably never, ever disturb out there. So again, it's kind of nice for us, especially if it'll monitor frost levels. It's a nice digital thing for us to be able to monitor and keep an eye on versus frost tubes.
You need a motion for that, guy?
I would think the necessary thing would be motion if you're using the county grounds.
Motion by Manning, second by Cosgrove. Further discussion on the weather station being put on the highway department. Mr. Carroll.
It's a solar powered thing, so it's a self-contained unit. We don't have to do anything for it.
Good question.
How would you see the readings? Is there a website or something that you?
That's what they tell me. It's an app you could probably download on your phone, and then there's a website you can go to online.
Any further questions? If not, all those in favor of allowing WisConnect to put the weather station on the highway department property signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay. All right,
Okay, on to the quarry.
Corey, WisConnect was the first part, Corey, the second part.
So, the sheriff's department, reached out and we've been working with them on and off for about the last year. They're looking for a place to basically put a private shooting range. We originally thought maybe we could do something with the sand pit because we don't like our sand pit very much. But, there's just too many people around there to do a safe enough shooting range. But what they did identify is they approached us about a couple acres of land that we have up at the quarry near householders. We went up there with Candace, the sheriff, and then basically local law enforcement looked at it. We believe we could facilitate providing them a shooting range that could even push as far as 100 yards without interfering with our operations. It would just be a shared property, basically, with a stationary place for them to have to do like shooting events and stuff like that. It would be a safe environment. Where they're shooting, they'd be shooting towards a big rock wall. Of course, we put up sand berms and everything. So, before we continue any farther, I felt it necessary to bring it to Public Works to get your guys' appetite on it. Of course, there's got to be some research done into zoning and so on and so forth about whether legally we can even do this and what kind of things we could be looking at. But today it would just be like saying, yes, you're all for it, and to investigate into like the costs and everything that kind of goes with it. I'm in support of this. I don't see any reason why we couldn't facilitate that. The admin staff at Highway feel the same way, that we can feel like we have enough land up there we can easily accommodate. And it would be a benefit to the county because Clay has already talked about doing maybe some shooting classes and stuff up there for county employees. The other maybe possible aspect we're looking at is even a private shooting range for the county employees approaching deer season stuff, not to have to go out to the public range and compete with the public. It would be a private place for the county employees, a perk for working for the county, to go out there and sight in the deer rifle and stuff underneath Sheriff's Department supervision, of course. Mr. Chair.
All right, Mike, would we cooperate with Richland Center Police Department possibly as well?
Correct, and they were on scene that day when we looked at the property.
Thoughts, committee?
Got one, and that would be, they use pretty much all solid tip bullets, don't they?
Correct, and to facilitate that, understanding that's a quarry, ricochets. So anywhere where the targets were gonna be, we would actually berm it up with clean sand to absorb those bullets.
Worried about that limestone and ricochet.
Right. There would be, obviously, in a quarry, there is setbacks as well. Any rock wall, you have to stay 20% of the incline away from that for loose falling rock. So we may even reach out to Milestone, who own that quarry. Maybe they'd come in and scrape that rock wall and then establish the setback, and then we'd set the berm and everything, and then go from there.
Who do you foresee is gonna be in charge of the expenses, I guess?
So the sheriff's department and us would actually split the cost. If it was gonna benefit highway employees and a benefit to the county, we would budget and absorb some of that cost. And sheriff's department would actually put up some of the costs as well through some of the grants they have access to, and that's what we've determined so far.
Mr. Carroll?
At this point, you're just asking permission to invest.
Investigate into it, get prices and stuff together, but enough to show support, like, hey, this would be a good thing for the county, so we know we can kind of proceed with it. Yep, we'll do all the dirty work, and then once we have everything put together, we'll come back and present it for official, move forward.
Julie?
Where exactly is this located? If there, residences that people would be complaining with noise, that kind of thing?
So, you're familiar with County Road N when it leaves town to go up? Okay, so you know where the quarry is, right on top of the hill. Our portion of the quarry is directly attached to that. Our driveway is just before you get to the householder main quarry entrance. It's just before that going up the hill. There is no residence close by that it would interfere with, and it wouldn't have really any more noise than what the quarry already has when they have crushers and blasting and stuff in there.
Good question.
Would we have to notify Milestone about it or no?
We would. I would definitely let Milestone know about it. Obviously, it's our property. It wouldn't interfere with their operations for safety. So basically, all I do is reach out and have a conversation with them about it.
I'm okay with moving forward with it, just, you may find something that's gonna
Yeah.
say, no, you can't do it. You won't know until you start researching it further, so. I don't know, I guess we better just take a motion just to, let them move it forward, would probably be the best thing. Mr. McKee? Seconded by Mrs. Fleming. Any other discussion on the possible gun range at our portion of the quarry up on County Highway N? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, say nay. All right, move forward with that one. What are we on? D, maintenance contract.
Okay, so another one, highway department has found their way into. So the fire department reached out, to me and they had a want, if you will, of utilizing our shop, our repair shop and our mechanics. Being as though this is all county emergency services, they thought it maybe, if we had the appetite, that maybe we could accommodate to working and servicing the fire department trucks, being as though we already have all the tools and all the technology at our disposal and the resources to do so. Personally, I don't see a problem with this. I mean, it's part of the county. We're part of the county. Why don't we work together? Their current maintenance person happens to be our shop superintendent. So he's already there. How it would work in theory, would be if they needed something maintained or looked at, we would schedule them as a time to come in. Obviously, highway departments, so equipment would always take priority to keep our operations going, but when we can sneak them into the shop, even during work hours, we would work on it, bill them for said time and said parts, and then that's how the relationship would stand, basically. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put together a contract and have it reviewed by Mike. Basically, everybody gets to sign on the dotted line that if we were to proceed with this, that they would be liable for paying our hourly rates and our cost for the parts and service and so on and so forth. Big thing why I have it here is because the thought process also goes, are you interfering with, businesses in the county?
Private entities.
Private entities, are we taking that away? I will say that I don't really see a problem with that because we currently work on townships equipment, snowplow equipment and stuff, and that would theoretically take in work away. I mean, we sell culverts, that's taking business away from somebody along the line. So, I mean, again, you're looking at county emergency services, being able to do more stuff in-house with county employees than leaving in your hands to make that decision. If you guys decide to proceed forward with this, I'll develop a contract, I'll bring it back here for approval, and then we'll proceed forward. Okay.
Thoughts, Drew?
Would you be able to certify like the ladders? I know that takes a certain certification.
No, we would not be able to certify any piece of equipment. All we would be able to do is perform the maintenance and repair work.
Mr. Carroll?
Even aside from the ladders, I mean, there's specialized stuff on our fire truck that would you then have to start stocking some spares for that kind of stuff?
If it's, again, if it's specialty type equipment, no. We're just gonna be basically stocking anything to do with the power plant in it, which would, come around engines, and the hydraulic lines or whatever have you, the standard repair stuff. We correct.
Oil filter oil, just the basics. I mean, yeah, we have the same issue in Blue River, where do you take the fire truck in Blue River? We get even the oil change. And luckily, our fire chief he's in the tire business, so we can get the repairs done there. But and they don't get a lot of miles or hours, but there's still maintenance that needs to be done. Yes, Mr. McKee. Yeah, the majority, yep, and they're buying their filters wherever, so they just need well, if you ever been in their fire station, there's not even much room to get a creeper in there to work on a truck per se or whatever. If everybody's okay with it, do you want that in a motion as well?
Yeah,
I think
proceed forward with development.
Mr. Cosgrove has made the motion, seconded by Mr. Manning, to move forward with checking in the possibility of us working with the Richland Center Fire Department and doing maintenance on their trucks. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Okay. Grant application.
All right, so Everything basically from parks, trails, and even some of the fair stuff. And then the Snowmobile Alliance has been shifted underneath my position to kind of charge. So recently you guys passed giving me the signing authority for doing said grants and whatnot. Usually when you apply for like a yearly maintenance grant, a resolution still has to be presented with it that the county has accepted the fact that you're going to apply for said funds. So I've done some research, been trained a little bit by the DNR as proceeding forward with this. And they says you do not have to do a resolution every single year and waste your county board's time when it comes time to apply for the maintenance grant. Other grants you do, but not this one. He says, if you just do a regular resolution that states that you're going to be, it labels you as the person, the signing authority, and that you're going to do this every single year. You don't have to include dollar amounts. We can do a one-time grant, and then you just have that as an attachment every time you do it, and you don't have to waste everybody's time. So running off of that, we worked with Mr. Kalish and then also corporate counsel, and then we drafted a resolution. Basically, if you'd like, I can read it its entirety. Otherwise, it basically just states that every year we're going to apply for a maintenance grant. Richland County's on board with it. It gives me the right to do so. And then obviously Candace always has the final approval on it as keeping me in check. So this resolution needs to be passed because the maintenance grant is coming due the 15th of next month. And I try to be ahead of the ball game and get stuff done. So we want to get it passed now, and then you'll see it again next week, county board. The reason why I came to this committee and not the Fair Parks Recycling Committee, well, being as all I report to this committee, it just makes sense to go through this committee, Mr. Chair.
Questions on the resolution needed, and this will should take care of it, as
long as it's underneath my authority to apply for it.
Till we do something different. Mr. Manning makes a motion, second by Mrs. Fleming. Miss Fleming, sorry. Any further discussion? Mr. Carroll,
I had some discussion.
somebody online?
This is Supervisor Severson. I'm online.
Hey, Carrie, go ahead.
So I just want to caution you by turning that paperwork in. There's still signs that are in the ground from areas in the county, just not in certain areas. And it'll take time for people to put in their hours and to get used to that system. So there could be more money that would be essentially could be tied to that grant than the paperwork that you're already putting in. So I know that they have April 15th, that's for part of that, but then there's also more hours to go along with that. So I wouldn't want to rush this right now and turn the paperwork in. It's okay to get this approved, but as far as submitting it, and then there's more hours to be turned in yet.
I don't see anywhere where we're approving any hours. We're approving a resolution to have the county board approve next week so that he has the authority to apply for the grant that's due by April 15th.
Yeah, by April 15th is what he said. He did say April 15th, that he wants to be ahead of the game and get everything in, right? But sometimes it can't work out that way. Especially when you can't get in the field
Gary?
when they're wet to pull out the signs and things like that.
Carrie, if I may, the maintenance grant does not require you to have all your hours and stuff turned in. This was direct education from Kurt Bayfield. The standard maintenance grant covers the $300 some or $300 per mile for maintenance, and that is it. Do not have to have your hours turned in to file said grant. The hours that you're referring to is the hours where you actually turn in all your costs and everything from last year's previous grant, and that's usually after June 30th. So this grant can go through every year at the same time for the same standard amount unless specified. It does not run off the hours for picking up signs or having all your final costs turned in for the year, and this is coming directly from Kurt Bayfield.
Hey.
Mr. Carroll, you had a question? Somebody will be looking. Any other discussion on it? Are you done? You good, Carrie?
I'm fine.
Okay. If no further discussion, all those in favor of approving as presented this resolution will go to county board next week. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, that resolution will be presented next week. Barb, number 11, you are up with MIS report.
So just a quick summary of where we're at for MIS. We are working with the vendor for the new website. We are just getting access for our staff so we can go in and start putting in content. So we'll be reaching out to department heads to get their content that they want transferred over, and department heads will start to see that. Hopefully we'll have that mid-April, ready to rock. Tower project, we just got contracts back from Attorney Wendell today to go to the landowners, and those were sent to Mike Day. So we are now on target and on budget with the time and the money for the radio project. It's going to be very tight for the time. I appreciate Highway's willingness to work with us on the roads, because that's definitely been a concern. But once we get those up, then we'll be able to start putting up the towers. We did just get an email back that was a little concerning about the clearing of the wood at the sites. They can't do it after March 31st unless we sign off on the bats. Are you aware of that one, Josh?
Yeah, yeah. The bats are the tricolored bats and then the long nose-eared bats. And after March 31st, if you're cutting, technically you can't cut unless you were to get a study done and approved for the removal of said trees, which we will obviously have to go through, because in order to cut those roads, we're going to be removing some major hillside and trees are going to have to get removed. So that's just the way of the game.
And the study's already been done, I think. That's the good news. We just have to do the application, saying that if we kill any bats, we'll tell them.
Yeah.
So that's our only twist that we've come across recently.
I believe it's easily something we can work through. It's not going to be a halt the whole show just because.
No. No. So those are our challenges. Otherwise, this room at the county board had a little malfunction, which I just, while I was sitting here, got emailed. They'll be here tomorrow to fix. So it'll be back into service, and there's always something fun. Land and zoning. I had a meeting today to get Sue Triggs's new fiddler in with our new land and zoning, and we'll be switching over that portal soon. We have a meeting next week with all the parties to finish that. That'll change things significantly for our local real estate people, because our portal will change a lot. It's updating everything. So we're moving along nicely. It's just lots to keep up with. Any questions?
I got a question. As far as the county website, will the department heads then be able to continue to update the content so that hopefully that relieves some of MIS's?
That is our plan. There are probably some departments that don't have the staff to do those updates. We'll still do some of them. We'll still maintain the front page, and we'll still maintain some of the minutes and meetings pages. But yeah, a lot of the general content they'll be doing.
Anybody else with further questions for Barb as far as work that she's covered so far? If not, you can move into 12 if you'd like.
All right. Okay.
ACI proposal for ACP upgrade.
So we visited this in July of 2023. We came to you and we said we need to add speakers and horns on the old side of the building because the fire alarm system didn't have them. We got inspected. We had to do it. You guys authorized. We brought to you at that time two options. You could upgrade the panels and the horns, or you could just upgrade the horns. It was chosen just to do the horns. Well, when JCI came in this year, they contacted us. They said, we're not going to be liable anymore. That stuff is way too outdated. So we can leave it outdated. But I'm sorry, I got it backwards. We can leave the old side panel outdated. That's definitely an option, but here's your risk. If that panel goes down, they will not support it anymore. They can't get the parts and it's a matter of, they just can't get them. We will be responsible for fire watch, which means we have to have someone physically walk through the building every 30 minutes and document that there is no fire. And that has to be turned in until there is a functional fire system. The reason for that is we have inmates in the jail who actually live here. Like, this is their home. So with that in mind, if we wait until that happens, it could be a month, it could be 2 months before they get a new panel in. I don't have any staff available to do a 30-minute rounding of the courthouse. I know the sheriff's department doesn't have staff. Pretty sure Randy's not staying, and this is 24/7. Yep, it's 24/7 till we get a new panel up. I don't think that that's a risk we can take. So I brought this to Candace, who said, bring it to your committee. And the cost for that, sorry, I went too far, was way at the top, is $22,950.96. I don't have an answer for where that money is coming from. I'm not even gonna pretend to, but I also think that it's one of those costs of doing business, and I know that's a lousy. Oh, Josh has got money for the courthouse fire system. That's generous of you, Josh. So we do need to find this, in my opinion, and I'll certainly defer to the committee for your thoughts.
This is their latest
This
Latest
is brand,
proposal and
Yep.
is good for how long? And when would they be able to get it installed?
let's take a look, and they will come as soon as I call them. Sorry.
Mr. Carroll, you got a question you can ask as well while she's finding paper.
Yes. Quickly they could. Yeah. Stop.
That's what I think she's looking for.
Yep, let me get all of these. Sorry, they didn't. Nope, the quote didn't make it in here, and I'm sorry about that. I do have it over here. How quickly they will come is as soon as I can give them permission to come, we'll be on their schedule. They're already waiting for this approval. So it'll go into place. I mean, I would anticipate it would be fully functional for June.
And they've done enough research, they know this isn't a plug and play, I assume.
No, they have to. The wiring is all there. We've had conferences with them. Wallace Electric came in and finished up the wiring that we needed. So we are ready for it. And I verified with them again on the phone the other day that we absolutely need no additional wiring. Nope, we're good to go. It's just a matter of getting the panels ordered, getting them in and getting them installed.
Right. And that's what I was asking, what's the delivery of the panels?
He did not give that to me because I can't tell him to order them. I mean, I would anticipate no more than a month. I don't have that. Did you?
Yeah, we had this discussion, I think, 3 months ago or 4 months ago. It was brought to this committee once before, and we had discussed it.
In
But
July
we just,
23.
or yeah, it's been even longer. So I know we had discussed it, and we were gonna fund the pulling of the wires. I was gonna pay for that out of my buildings budget. I think we had discussed that. Like, there was like $5,000 or something that was gonna come out of my budget. And we had also discussed that I could probably pull probably at least half of this out of my budget also, because we knew it was gonna be an emergency thing. So I can talk to Candace and see what we can do, is unless she's got another fund, then we can take a portion of it out of also. But I think that we should be able to fund this, even if we have to do all of it out of my buildings budget. I mean, it's kind of one of those emergency things we gotta get done.
I hate the whole year budget this early in the year. And then, you know what I mean, this is kind of an outlier thing here, that's a good way to go with it.
Further discussion on it? I would agree with Mark that we bump it quick to, well, we wouldn't get it through this. That's a problem. We won't get it for next week. Well, we may be able to pull a personnel and finance meeting prior to county board. I think we should try that. We don't have the manpower to do a 30-minute walkthrough 24/7 on this facility, especially when you have inmates in a portion of it. So I would entertain a motion to move this resolution on to personnel and finance, and we'll try and get a meeting scheduled prior to the county board meeting next Tuesday night to get this approved, so then they can, the money part of it will be figured out one way or another, so. Mr. Cooley makes that motion. Mr. McKee seconds it. Any further discussion? Mr. Carroll?
I think we should make sure we get a little more firm information on deliveries dates, what's feasible.
I've got the 3 documents. I'll make sure that I'll put them in your packet now. I thought they were in there.
Okay, I agree. Carol, any other questions as far as, so the plan is to move this on to personnel and finance next week, and then Barb can get it ordered and hopefully be in within the time we meet the next month, possibly. Okay, all those in favor of moving it on to personnel and finance for next week, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, say nay. All right, that one, what else you have for us?
Hey, Rocky access points. This one is much easier. We budgeted for this item. The money is there. In 2024, we planned on it. The wireless access points in this building, at Highway Shop and at Simon's, all need to be replaced. They're end of life. We knew that this expense was coming. We budgeted more than what this is actually come in at for bid. I just need to take it to board because it's over $10,000, but it's a budgeted expense. The access points are what we rely on every day to function and do our jobs.
Motion by Cooley, seconded by Fleming. Further discussion, it's a budget item. Mr. Carroll?
Oh, your iPad connects to the network and gets internet through them. It allows, that's it. I know it seems like a simple job, but it certainly is.
Yeah. Yeah. Any further questions on what an access point is? If not, all those in favor of moving this resolution on to county board next week, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right. Anything else for us, Barb?
Nope, that's all I
I'm
had.
just caught up. Any other questions for Barb? If not, let's move on to future agenda items. Anybody on the committee have future agenda items that we need to try and bring forward? If not, Mr. Manning, you have a job to do. Adjournment by Manning, seconded by Fleming. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right, thank you, everyone.